нет? Посмотри.
So, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the subject office of the People's Republic in Lithuania. So, I'm the subject of the office. So, glad that so many media friends come to today's meeting. As I know that a lot of people really care about what is going on between China and Lithuania. So I'm sure you learn the progress, and in the press, some people are really worried about the future of our two nations, our two countries. And of course, there are some people are really delighted. They cannot hide. They are joyful at the opening of the Taiwan representative office in Lithuania. So some of them even said they are really glad to dash to buy flowers and to congratulate that, okay? So I'm sure a lot of people really care about how, a lot of questions about how and why and what to do and what will happen next. So from the previous public media, I'm sure you have noticed that a lot of sayings from or statements from your government, from your president, prime minister, foreign minister, and even your chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee of CMAS on China and on Taiwan. And so today I'd like to let you have the story from our side as to what happened, especially since July 20th up to November 18th. So in Chinese we have saying that only you will know the whole story. We will listen to both sides. So that means that before I come to your questions, I will just a little bit brief you about what happened recently. You know, since July 20th, Taiwan announced its opening of its office in the name of Taiwanese in Lithuania, and your foreign ministry welcomed the decision and setting up of the office. So from the first time we launched very solemn representations with your government, our strong protest and disagreement about this erroneous move. We very clearly told your government that the Chinese one China policy and the bottom line, the right line, that we really care about that. So, but as you have learned from the spokesperson of our foreign ministry, so your government has turned a deaf ear to our requests, repeated representations, and solemn protests. So you allow Taiwan to open the office in the name of Taiwanese. So that's, as we said, is created a false impression of one China, one Taiwan in the world. As you know that this action, we call this very egregious action from your government, because it undermines the Chinese national security and territory integrity. And also, it renounces, it's a commitment made by your government with Chinese government on the establishment of the diplomatic relations between our two countries in 1991. So your commitment in your communique very clearly states that you will follow closely the one China policy. China is the sole government representing the whole China, and Taiwan is part of China. So that's very clear in the communique. So that's why we say your government's action is renouncing the commitment made in the communique. So this also, your move make a very bad precedent, because in the world, Taipei office, Taiwan office, normally their mission operates in other area of the world, all in the name of Taipei. Never happened in Taiwan. So that's why we're very clear from very, very beginning to your foreign ministry, to your government. We solemnly opposing using the name of Taiwan or Taiwanese when you allow the office to operate in Lithuania. We are not opposing any non-governmental cooperations, links between Lithuania and Taiwan in terms of economic, cultural, business links, trade. So that's okay. We never said that's no. We only are opposing that it's not good for you to use the name Taiwan or Taiwanese in the names. So I'm sure friends presented today really knows about this, because I noticed that in every your coverage on these topics, normally at the bottom you always state the facts that the name is the problem. We are not opposing your normal trade, business links, cultural links with Taiwan, as long as that's non-governmental. So that's our stance, our position, very clear to our foreign ministry. But of course, at the meantime, we noticed that from the July 20th, after that, we called by our ambassador on the August 10. Of course, your ambassador came back later. So we just let your government know that we really care about the relations. We hope your government could reconsider its wrong decision. But we noticed from the statements from your leaderships, it seems that we are not allowing you to have normal relations with the non-governmental relations, trade, business, and cultural links with Taiwan. They always say that China is obstructing your having this kind of office, having this kind of business links with Taiwan, like other countries in the world, especially those countries in European Union. So in the meetings with your foreign ministry, many times I printed out from Taiwan foreign ministry's website about what's the names used by Taiwan when their office overseas, and also what name is used by other countries. We set up its office in Taipei. So no country used Taiwan or Taiwanese. That's for sure. So for your government, it's very clear our bottom line, our right line, but it continues to have the office open, the Taiwan representative office in Lithuania, operate on the 18th of November. So that's very serious. So today I'd like to So, I also like to further brief you about what happened. After we delivered our message to your government, and your government always say that we noted in the press, your leadership said that you are patient enough, and you would like to sit down with China to find a solution to the problem. Is that right? So I can assure you that we have been, from time to time, to meet your officials from your foreign ministry actively, and especially on the 13th and 25th of October. We told your foreign ministry that the door for negotiations between China and Lithuania is wide open. We like to sit down and talk to you about the relations, but we didn't get a positive response. So that's the fact, and that's the truth. So we are sorry for what's happening now. So you have learned that we have announced that based on the periods I mentioned, the damages to the bilateral relations, as mentioned, that the political foundation of the two countries has been seriously damaged. So we have no choice but to downgrade our relations to the level of chargé d'affaires. So, of course, we also mentioned very clearly that it will have consequences. So, because it's because Lithuania has chosen to ignore China's solemn position and disregard the broad interests of bilateral ties and the basic norms governing the international relations. So we also urge your government to realize its wrongdoing, and we urge the Lithuanian leadership to put it right the mistakes, and don't underestimate the resolute, the will, and capability of the Chinese people in safeguarding the national security, the territorial integrity, the national sovereignty, and the territorial integrity. So today I'd like to come like this. We have so many journalists come. Let me see, we have friends from 15 Minutes and Link TV News, okay, and BNS, okay, BNS, and Observer, from Observer, and Republic, okay, and also Hot Commentary, maybe it's on the way, and also Litva's it has come or not? Maybe not, okay. Also Xinhua News Agency in Vilnius branch. You have given us some questions already. I would like to answer the question first. And some questions may have overlapped each other, so we may answer just once for that. And later on, if we still have questions, or we still have time, I would love to answer your questions that of your interest. So the first question I would like to answer, that's from LNK TV News, and also from Republic. The question from LNK TV News goes like, what is the position of the People's Republic of China regarding the opening of the Taiwanese representations in Vilnius? Does the fact that the Taiwanese mission in Vilnius does not have diplomatic status change anything? So similar question from Republic, and that's how can the current relationship between the parties be assessed? So just now, as I mentioned that the Chinese solemn position already. I mentioned your country in this regard or repeated representations and protest our disagreement with the wrong decision. So you insist on having the office open in the Taiwanese of the name. So as I said, that will be a very serious issue. That's really hurt the feelings of the Chinese people and also damaged the foundation of the bilateral relationship. So also undermines China's sovereignty and integrity, territorial integrity, and also is grossly interfere in the internal affairs of China. So our friends know Taiwan is part of China, and what you have been doing, that's kind of interference. Obviously, it's interference in China's internal affairs. So definitely we cannot accept that. So also we have to say that we have no choice but to downgrade the level of relations to the Southeast affairs, and also will result in some consequences. But we have to reiterate again that Lithuanian government should bear all the ensuing responsibilities for the mistakes. Also, we can see that your government saying that the Taiwanese office, representative office in Lithuania, does not have any diplomatic status. But it does not mean anything different. If you follow the reports closely, you will see the Taiwan authorities, they are celebrating on this so-called friendly gesture from your government. They cheer it as a breakthrough in their diplomatic endeavors overseas. And it's a diplomatic fruits they have never seen over 10 or 20 years. So it's self-evident and explained that this gesture, this establishment of this office goes against the Chinese sovereignty, and also that shows the Taiwan separatists what they have been trying to do to looking for the international space and so-called recognition by the countries in the world. So that we believe that the excuse or the quibble of the Lithuanian government is just a kind of cover-up. So it doesn't change much about the fact that you create one China, one Taiwan impression, the false impression in the world. That's why we urge again the Lithuanian government to change and to correct its mistakes. So only by that we could talking about the normalization of the bilateral relations. And here I would like to quote our President Xi Jinping, his remarks when he met President Biden on the 16th of November on the issue of Taiwan. So make our friends here to have a better understanding from what the leadership of China on the issue. So President Xi expounded China's principled position on the Taiwan issue. He emphasized that the situation in Taiwan Strait is facing a new round of tension because Taiwan authorities have repeatedly attempted to rely on the United States for independence. And some people in the United States intend to contain China by playing Taiwan card. This trend is very dangerous. It's playing with fire. And playing with fire must burn oneself. The One China principle and the 3 Sino-US joint communique are the political foundation of Sino-US relations. Successive US governments have made clear commitments to this. The true status quo of Taiwan issue and the core content of One China are: there is only one China in the world. Taiwan is a part of China, and the government of the People's Republic is the sole legal government representing China. The complete reunification of China is the common aspiration of all Chinese people. We are patient and are willing to strive for the prospect of peaceful reunification with the utmost sincerity and best efforts. However, if the Taiwan independent separatist forces remain provocative and even break through the red line, we will have to take decisive measures. So this is a very clear message from our leadership to President Biden on the 16th November. So it's very clear, and the Chinese are very resolute to safeguard its security, national sovereignty, and territorial integrity. So that here, I also would like to have a stern warning also to Taiwan, that Taiwan is always part of China. Nobody can deny the history and the reality, and nobody can separate Taiwan from the mainland China. No matter what they do, how they misrepresent the history, how to misrepresent, no matter how they represent facts and confront black and white, the historical fact that the mainland and Taiwan belong to one and the same China, that cannot be changed. So that's my answer to the first question. So the second question is from Xinhua News Agency, Vilnius Bureau. The question goes like: Lithuania violated the One China principle and insists on approving the opening of the Taiwanese representative office in Lithuania, causing a serious setback on the bilateral relations between China and Lithuania. What was the reason for this? Can Lithuania achieve the results they wanted? I like to use a saying in Chinese history that goes in Chinese: 天下熙熙，皆为利来；天下攘攘，皆为利往. So this saying is from a very famous historian that's 1,000 years before, that by Sima Qian in the record of history. That means that all the people coming and going, no matter somewhere, all for profits. So I would like to take this saying to say that the decision by your government to pursue such a tie with Taiwan authority, that out of your own interest. So everybody is going for profits and interest. So we can see from 3 aspects in terms of the interest. From my personal observation, also I read some articles, even from the chairman of the group with Taiwan in the Siemens, that security is your priority concern. So the security, national security, I think that's one profit, one interest you like to safeguard, and of course you like to get the attention or the favor of the one of the superpower in the world, the U.S. government. So that's clear and for sure. And you would like to please the superpower, and you would like to have the army, U.S. troops to station, not on a shifting basis, but on a permanent basis. That's one. I can perceive that national security is one of your interests. And also your ruling coalitions and the parties in the ruling coalition, they like to practice differently. They like to project them to the audience, to the public, that they are following value foreign policy. So they like to have their influence. That's also natural, understandable. And also, I believe also another prophets could like personal ambitions. We have noticed that the new government, since it's taking office from last December, has been taking very serious offensive actions against China. And especially we noticed that some politicians, they are really young and energetic of those leadership, those politicians. So I'm sure they love to be the future to be president to be, or maybe female president in the future. So anything, it's understandable. So everybody would like to have the to reap the fames by behave radically, especially in terms of Chinese policy. So, but one thing I really puzzled me, I don't really quite agree with. So, the paramount interest of your government is about national security. Every country has the same kind of concern, especially when it comes to Lithuania. In my past 2 more years work here, I understand profoundly about that. But I really don't see how you could achieve this goal, how you could have your sense of security by standing so close with the superpower like the United States. I just doesn't see that would be definitely the answer. You could see Afghanistan, what happened? So the U.S. retreat. So do you think the security will be guaranteed? And also, I don't see why this alien take an anti-China approach. The second biggest economy in the world, as LRT reported that no market, no country or small market could replace China because China has a 1.4 billion population. We are the second largest economy. And also, China is a permanent member of the UN Security Council. So we have profound influence in the world, and the influence is becoming great and bigger, especially we are representing the interests of the poor people in the developing countries. So we simply don't see how you could achieve your security by offending, taking this policy against China, the second largest economy and the member of the permanent member of the UN Security Council. We also have to say that when we come to the stage like today, there are some reasons of course, for your government. You voluntarily, you are proactively to meet the demands of the major superpower. And also it's very clear and obvious that it is at the instigation of certain major country. So that's for sure. Only I have to say that it has not it only will hurt the Lithuanians' interest. So the long-term overall interest for Lithuania and your people will be hurt by your wrongful treachery action about China. So let's come to question 3. The same question, the question is from Xinhua News Agency, Vilnius Bureau. How should we evaluate Lithuanians' value diplomacy? I think I agree this is a very good question. So since this the foreign policy really proud and boasted by your ruling coalitions, and you are following, advocating clearly your ideas on human rights, on freedom, independence. So human rights, yeah. So as to how to evaluate, so normally you will understand, for the Chinese foreign policy, we never interfere in the domestic affairs of other countries. We never do that. So it's not in a position for me to evaluate how good or how bad about the policy. We respect the value orientation of Lithuania. So I know your people treat independence, freedom, human rights, just like taking good care of your eyes is so precious. So you have to know that it's the same for the Chinese. So the prosperity of the country, happiness of the people, national independence, democracy, and freedom are also values that the Chinese people cherish very much. And you can see we are developing so quickly, and the people's lives are improving, and people are enjoying much happier and happier life. So that's for sure. It's really hard to believe that when the country is so developing, the people are oppressed. So it's not the case. As long as you have been to China, as long as you have any basic knowledge about Chinese history, especially in the past 150 years, you will understand better. And in my article published on the 9th of November in Literals, right? That's Morning Post. I recommend you to read it. You will have much understanding. So in that article, I simply, from my own experience here in Lithuania, I told you, the audience, that the analogy between China and the Bolshevik is absurd, it's ridiculous, it's not comparable at all. So you will find from that article about how Chinese people love our party and how the party lead the whole nation. We got independence, just like you. We got independence. We have the prosperity simply because the party's leadership. So hope you could come to that article. Also, we could also print the article for you, for your reference. So just as I mentioned, we also cherish the same value. And also, I believe that diplomacy is an extension of the internal matters, affairs. And foreign policy, whether it's good or not, it will see whether it serves the interests of the country and the well-being of its people. So I would urge you to also to reflect whether your policy on the China issue, on the Taiwan issue, whether that's helpful to you or not. So for China, we are taking care very good the interest of Chinese people. We love our people to have better life. But I just thought this policy will not be conducive to improving the lives of your people. Also, from my observation, that I just mentioned that the concrete policy is go against or go contrary to your ideals, because we can see that you are taking sides in the geopolitical affairs. You lose your independence in making your own decisions. So you have to listen and watch what other powers to say, then you can continue or not with your actions. So independence is so valuable. In China, we just always cherish independence of the country whenever like to be aligned with any power to lose our independence in our decision making. And also I noticed that even with the value of foreign policy, but still I found some discrepancies. And we also found like some other major powers, and this kind of value diplomacy is hypocritical and double standard. So I just mention a few things that will remind you what happened on the border with Belarus. So the migrant issue, how people are treated badly, inhumanly, they don't have any rights to say. And also, I can also, from your history, from the current society, the people, you have unfair treatment and discriminations against its own citizens of Russian and Polish origins. So they are not enjoying equal rights with ordinary Lithuanians. And your government chose to keep silent and turn deaf ear to the Catalonians' independence movement and the demand for independence of Northern Ireland. So when you talk about the independence of Taiwan, you support the people, your policy is now so consistent. So you didn't say anything about the Spanish Catalonia independence. So I think that's reflected by quite some of your audience readers have same kind of idea. Also, you don't have any say about the Black Lives Matter movement in the United States. Also, on the January 6th Capitol Hill incident. So some of your politicians, they support the riots happened in Hong Kong in 2019 or 2020. But you don't say anything bad or wrong about the Capitol Hill riots. So that's really strange. Even from your article, you can see that some readers understand you are talking about China like authoritarian states and not good human rights record. But your government is keeping is a good relationship with some countries that widely believe to have valid the human rights. They have really serious human rights situation in those countries. So that explains the double standard, inconsistency of your foreign policy. So don't target only one country with your foreign policy. I think that's the message also in your press, quite article I read about that. So when we talk to the human rights and the democracy, so we have Chinese also have our own positions on that. I also would like to quote President Xi Jinping remarks with Biden on 16 November. So Ms. President Xi emphasized that civilization is rich and colorful, and democracy is also rich and colorful. Democracy is not a customized product. The whole world should have only one model and one specification. If a country is democratic or not, it must be judged by the people of the country. If they are excluded because of different forms of achieving democracy, this in itself is an undemocratic behavior. We are willing to engage in dialogue on human rights issues on the basis of mutual respect, but we do not approve of interfering in other countries' internal affairs through human rights issues. So it's all clear, our stance on the democracy. So we don't believe that the whole world should have only one form of democracy, just like the United States or some other countries. We like people. We have different background, history, religion background. We dress differently, we look differently, we have different habits. How, if everybody act the same, follow the same behavior, what will happen? That doesn't make any sense at all. So at present, we notice that the United States and a small number of countries with so-called like-minded ideas are engaged in small circle to confront China. So to my understanding, just like the 8 power allied forces once invaded China in 1900, if you know the history, that China was invaded quite many times by the foreign forces, the united allied forces to broke the door of China, the Qing dynasty at that time. From time to time, we have to sever our land, pay a lot of money as a compensation to the invaders. So turn China into a totally semi-feudal and semi-colonialized society. So history always has similarity. We can see today the small group of people, they use ideology as a weapon to target China. Why? Simply because China is developing itself, taking care of the good life of its people. What's wrong with that? We never export our ideology. We never say the communism or capitalism, which one is good or wrong or bad. So how come you have to confront with the development of China and the Chinese people? So we can see after the Cold War that the U.S. government just try to do what they would like to, they love to do, without any restraint. You know, they have done anything from armed intervention, military invasion, economic sanctions, cultural infiltration, and incitement to riots. So either you take orders from me or be messed up by me. That's the policy. That's the act of hegemony. Just like if you like to have hamburger and Coca-Cola every day, why shouldn't the Chinese have roast duck? So you cannot force all the people in the world to have the same fast food like burger and Coca-Cola. Yeah. So just as I mentioned, we never export our ideology. We never seek hegemony, and we seek development wholeheartedly for ourselves. It is committed to let the Chinese people to lead a happy life and realize the great national rejuvenation. So I think that's fair for the Chinese to enjoy its development, the results of development. Now I'd like to come to question 4. The question from two mediums. One is from LNK TV News. China's foreign ministry said it would take all necessary steps to protect territorial integrity. Maybe you can provide more details. Another question from Republic. What is the influence of business contracts and the business itself? What actions from China may wait for Lithuania to deteriorate? Biggest taxes or ignore? So similar question from Hot Commentary. How the opening of Taiwanese representative office will change the bilateral relations between China and Lithuania?
Can we add also some questions regarding those same issues?
Sure.
I would also Sankash, the Baltic News Service. I would like to know, you mentioned a lot of times consequences. So I would like to know what kind of consequences can follow after this downgrading diplomatic relations between two countries. What other consequences are in line?
Thank you for your question. So I'd like to say that we believe it's a wrongful action by our government that really interferes in China's domestic affair and hurt the feeling of Chinese people, undermines the sovereignty and security and territory of the China. So you people should be responsible or take responsibilities for its misdoing. That's why we hope your government could change its behavior. So when it comes to any steps and measures, I cannot really outline what will happen next. But you can imagine, with the political foundation being seriously damaged, so quite many things in all aspects will be seriously affected. I can say politically, economically, and culturally. Is for specific like tourism that will be affected. We noticed that your business complained about the difficulties when you're doing business with Chinese counterparts lately, and I don't have any doubt about that, simply because what you have done really hurt the Chinese. And that's a natural response from Chinese side.
Can I also add another question?
Sure.
Could you also mentioned that Lithuania should repair its wrongdoings. What actions Lithuania should take to get back to status quo? Is the renaming Taiwanese representative office to Taipei's representative office would fix this issue between two countries? Okay, thank you.
That's for sure. The first thing, or the important step to be taken by your government to change the naming, to correct the mistakes and we should change the naming. Of course, it is very important. You should not name the Taiwan office here in a name like Taiwan or Taiwanese. If that be put in Taipei office, would be acceptable, more acceptable. And of course, by changing the name is the one thing, and in actions, we also urge our counterparts to the Lithuanian government to really follow the one China policy. Do not have any official contacts with Taiwan authority. As we say, we no objection to the non-governmental trade business relations with Taiwan. Personally, I believe now it's globalization is normal for your business people to do business with everybody, every company, in the world. But when it comes to Taiwan, as long as you don't have official political links, that will be okay.
Could I ask the question as well?
Sure.
Could you elaborate? You mentioned this is a downgrade of relations, not severing diplomatic relations. Could you explain why this decision was taken, confirm or deny that severing diplomatic relations was one of the options? What made you take this decision? And secondly, you mentioned there was a communique from 1991, September 14th, if I recall, of diplomatic relations between People's Republic of China. Do you have that communique? Can you show us that communique where it states anything about Taiwan?
I thought I should have a print that, but that's okay. We can print it right away from the computers. The communique signed in September 1991. Maybe I can ask my colleague to do that right now, so you can have the communique. You would like?
Like a copy of the
Yeah.
original document that you have, because I know that you have this on your website.
王梅，昊天，咱们的记者朋友啊，需要一份这个咱们1991年签署的两国建交公报，打印英文的，看咱们从外交部网站或者能找得到，啊，好吧 ，OK, we will give that to you. So that's almost the format protocol agreement between China and any country in setting up relations. Diplomatic relations. So Taiwan is the sole only important part in the communique. So as the gentleman just asked about why we choose to downgrade the relations, not sever the relations. So that's also thing I believe is really good question. You know, we called back ambassador on the August 10th. So, you know, that's also a rare diplomatic gesture. So that China really disagree with your announcement of having Taiwan's office. And we hope you will have the chance to reflect on that and talk to us and to change your decisions. So that's for the first place, we give you a chance by calling back ambassadors. But unfortunately, your government just say you like to sit down in China to find a solution. I think that's also from your presidency office, right? Even from your president saying. Frankly speaking, I have tried my efforts to get hold of the officials from the presidential office, like the foreign affairs advisors and the people from her office. We don't have any response. Really sorry for that. Even for the meetings we would like with your foreign ministry, and at the very beginning, so your vice foreign minister called me and to sit down with me to find out what's the right line of Chinese policy, the one China policy with regard to Taiwan. But later on, in October, in November, especially in October, so I cannot meet your high-ranking officials from your foreign ministry. You know, on the 18th of November, I was called to meet one division chief of your Oceanian Asian department. Is quite a long name. I cannot repeat exactly. So she read me the decision of your government allowing the Taiwanese representative office in Lithuania to register. They have told me that they have registered already, and let me know that's the case. So you could see that how it's I don't believe that's really diplomatic. And the reason now we just downgrade the relations to the lower level, as you know, that's another step just next to severance of the diplomatic relations. We still are in hope. We are hoping the Lithuanian government will give you another opportunity to have a second thought on your action, on your decision of having the Taiwanese representative office here. So we love to see your people, your opposition from outside people could understand the importance of the bilateral relations. And your government will realize how will be much beneficial or conducive to your own country, to your people. So we are waiting. We hope only by change the name, just as the BNI's friends mentioned, only by first you need to change the name, then we could consider the normalization of, we can bring back the relations.
How long will you wait, and what happens if your hopes do not transpire?
It's not up to us. I think you need to ask your government. And it depends on whether your government will change your decision.
What if it doesn't?
If it doesn't, if you continue to follow the wrong path, then nothing will happen. Could be more serious. That depends on how the reaction from your government. It's not rest with us. We have very clear our stance. You have committed, undermine the interest of the core interest of China. We urge you to make corrections, put it right, and now it's time for you. Just like after August, you have announced that you allow Taiwan to open its office in its name. We have all different opinion about that. We protest and we launched solemn representations many times. Very clear our bottom line to your government. Naturally, that time is for your government to respond actively to Chinese concern. You need to sit down with us to really find the solution. Unfortunately, we don't see that. You can see from the press that from July or from August, your foreign ministers, your leaders try to meet every leader from other countries. One main topic is about China. You are calling all the countries in the world to learn with you, like you are calling for 27+1 European Union policy against China. So I know you have withdrawn from the Central Eastern European cooperation format. So that's what your politicians are doing. They say they like to sit down, find solution. They are patient. That's I think Mr. Lambergis, the foreign minister, said. But they never stop. They didn't take any time rest with talking to United States. And your minister now currently in the U.S. So that's the second time in this year, and you're really a good guest of the White House or the State Department. So have I answered your question?
Not really, sir. So just to be clear, what happens if Lithuania does not back down? You say nothing happens. Is that what you're saying?
No. If you continue to follow this, that could means that the situation will not be improved. Thank you for your question.
You mentioned that the split with China is driven by ambitions of young, energetic politicians. Do you mean Landsbergis? Previous Landsbergis?
Oh, so it's better not for me to point that your politicians are really, for Chinese, for Biden, they're like in their 70s, 80s. But your politicians are in 30s. Your Minister of Foreign Affairs, your Minister of Economic Renovations, really so energetic. Yeah.
So you mean all of these, the Minister of Economy, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, you mean those politicians?
Of course. So I don't quite know much about other politicians, so we don't have chance to. We see the politicians who are really active on the on the pro-Taiwan, pro-American against China policy. Yeah. So I hope you could understand me correctly, and also allow you to will do the coverage. Try not to make any fuss about that. So I'm not against any person. I believe that I mentioned it's in your government, your country's interest, security interest. It's the interest of personal interest. If I'm the foreign minister, I'm a minister, chairman of the foreign affairs in the CIMAS, I may do the same. So, but I don't agree the policy when it comes to China, simply because China, we've never taken any offensive actions to Lithuania. Chinese people are friendly. So that's it. Yeah, thank you. Then I'd like to, we prepared a coffee for everybody and a donut. I know now time about 1 hour, so hope you can have. My colleague will bring the coffee to you. You can feel free to have it. So while listen to my okay, yeah. So the coffee is from our next door. We have a cafe shop just next to our next door.
A good one, actually.
A good one. Okay. Also, we ordered the holly donut. I believe that's the very good donut in Vilnius.
One more question, perhaps.
Yeah.
Did Lithuanian officials, in official or non-official capacity, try to resolve the situation on their behalf to make it look as a compromise of sorts that would be acceptable to your government?
No matter what channel or in what capacity, as long as this your government choose to change your decision and to bring back our relation to normal, that would be welcome. Definitely, we welcome that any friends who can make contributions in bring back our relations back to normal. Yeah. Thank you.
Sorry, sir. Can I ask it as well?
Sure.
You're saying the diplomatic relations have to be downgraded because Lithuania has allowed Taiwanese office opening. What if other countries in Europe or elsewhere decide to follow Lithuania's example and do the same thing? Are you going to downgrade diplomatic relations with all of them finally, or is there going to be needed a new path forward?
So I definitely I cannot answer the question, the thing that's not happening. But I can assure you that Chinese government is really serious when it comes to the one China principle. When we come to the Taiwan, the reunification with Taiwan. So any country, no matter is the Lithuania or in future there's some other country to follow, if there's any. So definitely we will take the same extreme actions, all necessary steps to safeguard our interests and securities. Yeah, that's for sure.
So how will this downgrading will affect your job here? What will be different, do you think?
You know,
For you?
yeah, by downgrading the office, that means we are not going to have ambassador, right?
Right.
And for me, I will be this. I don't have any order from my foreign ministry. I may stay or I may just whatever, but that I'm not quite sure.
And who will be the highest official this embassy?
The highest official, of course, will be the Sajay of them here. Yeah. So maybe now I can come to the question number 5. That's from Republic and also Observer. So Republic asks, how can the situation be changed and what actions should be taken? The Observer asks, how, in your opinion, can Lithuanian-Chinese relations develop further? So actually just now our friends here has asked similar question already. So as we say that your government should immediately to correct its wrong decision and to build back the political foundation for the bilateral relations. And also my suggestion for you that eliminate prejudice and objectively understand China's social system and China's development path. Objectively evaluate China's great achievements in the field of human rights and stop discrediting and spreading lies about the existence of genocide in Xinjiang, China. And also, we don't hope the Lithuanian government to choose sides in international geopolitical conflicts and don't get involved in unnecessary confrontations. So we call on Lithuania and also country in the world to act in light of its own fundamental interests and international justice and refrain from being a pawn or vanguard for other major powers in senseless confrontations in the world. So question number 6, also this question from Observer.
Oh, geez. Can I just add to the previous one?
Okay, please.
So it's been official that Lithuania basically left the project 17+1 Silk Road.
Mm-hmm.
And did actually any other countries follow the Lithuania and showed any sign of leaving the project?
As I know, I don't have any clue about, no information about any country will follow suit. Of course, I understand from some of your politicians, you are hoping some countries in the Baltic or in other countries in the European Union to follow. I don't have any information. I don't see any country now to take the similar action like this alien. So the question from Observer reads like, the Chinese authorities constantly emphasize that in the international arena, they offer other countries mutually beneficial cooperation, the implementation of mutually beneficial projects. Meanwhile, the Lithuanian authorities, as we see, do not find benefits for themselves in any of the projects with the partition of the PRC. How would you comment on that? So that's also a good question from Observer. Actually, the cooperations between countries, we should have a political will of two governments and two peoples. Just like we take like a waltz dance, we need to dance together. Yeah, so it's need two people to work together to promote cooperations and bring benefits to each country. So as you may know, that we have the One Belt, One Road initiative. So many countries have been getting benefits from the initiative, and also, just as you mentioned, the China and the Central and Eastern European countries cooperation format. So we have this format and platform ready for countries like Lithuania and other countries to play together. We need to work together to make things happen. However, we didn't have the same kind of response from. We don't see much aspirations from Lithuanian side, especially since 2019. China was listed as one of your national threats since 2019. So this is the third consecutive year. So we really love it. We don't see how we are constituting any threat to Lithuania. Just as I told our friends in foreign ministry, we are in the same continent, Asian, Europe continent. So on each side of the continent, China and Lithuania, thousands of miles away. So we don't have any geopolitical issues, interests. So we really don't see how we are threats to you. And at the same time, your government doesn't allow Chinese investments like Huawei technology for your 5G network construction. So you ruled out Huawei by the excuse of national security. And the same case with the Capital Harbor. We do have a company in China really interested in the construction of a deep water harbor. So we are really aiming at the Belt and the Road initiative that will bring a lot of business to Lithuania. But your government said it's a matter of national security, so we are not allowed to do so. And also we understand your National Defense Ministry is formulating something that will exclude further the Chinese investment in Lithuania in future. So you could see it will be very difficult for Chinese business to do business here. And also from time to time we read in the press that you are saying that your trade volume or investment in China is huge than China's in Lithuania. And you can say that as according to your the estimates that you have like 40 million euros investment in China, and China has like 3 million something. I'm not quite sure, but you can see from that that China are opening its market to Lithuanian business. We don't have any that can do a scrutiny requirement for. We never say there's any security reason or anything. So we always been a target by some other countries, by other superpowers like trade, like technology barriers to China. So you can see we are open. Since we are adopting an open door policy since 1979, and we are keeping open wider and wider. Just like we have reached agreement with the European Union on the direct investment. Of course, that's subject to further approval from respective government. So you can see we are sincere in developing our business. But your government just announced in May you are withdraw from the 17+1 format. So it's really pity, I think, for your business and for your people. You know, for this format, 17+1, we call China and Central European nations, the cooperation format. That's for Chinese government. We have all kinds of sub-programs to put forward with relative counterparts of all the parties on the program. So all the countries, as long as you are willing or actively join the program, I'm sure you can benefit from the huge Chinese investment and huge Chinese market. Just as I mentioned, some article said, Chinese market nobody can replace. Even United States try to get rid of Chinese products and try to delink the links between China and the United States. But we are seeing the surplus of trade volumes between the United States since 1917 up to now is growing year by year. It's on the contrary. The former President Biden launched the trade war with China, raised the taxes for Chinese products by 25% into the U.S. market. So now you can see Chinese market, we didn't have any side effects from that. We are exporting more than before. In the current situation, we can know because of the supply chain problem issues like the energy issues, and we see the inflations here and there, especially in the United States and also here in Europe. So the price for gas, so I think everybody should know, now is 1.5 per gallon for the number 95, and 1.6 more for my car. So that's 1.6. Used to be 1.2, around 1.2, right? So you could see the globalization. All countries are mixed up. We have to rely on each other. Just like we always advocate that globalization, we need to work together to make our planet work better. And we have support. We can support each other, trade, business in every aspect, especially on the combat against the COVID-19. So we need cooperation, especially also on the climate change issue. No country alone can achieve the goal of the climate change, and nobody can change the feat to get rid of the poverty in the world. So when it comes to the air pollution, the climate change, without China's contribution, we cannot reach the goal set by the COP26, right? So, but China will stick to its commitment. We will try our best to meet our commitments, simply because it's in our own interest to have the green forests, mountain, and clear water and air. You know, since we opened up since 1979, we experienced pollution problems. So foggy, mist in Beijing and its big city, that's happened, but now it's much better. So we will be strong driving force for the climate change endeavors. So let's come to maybe the last question on my paper. Yeah. The question is from Observer. What can you say about the calls, including by a group of Lithuanian politicians, to boycott the Winter Olympic Games in Beijing? So everyone knows that the Winter Olympic is taking place soon, in less than 2 months. Will be in Beijing, and it will be a big feast for the whole athletes in the world. So I have to say that I feel pity for your politician or some parliament members to make such a call to boycott the Beijing Winter Olympics. We believe this is another egregious act of the proposals by some unreasonable or those politicians or parliament members are really not the proposal came out not from the interest of your own country and your own athletes in the game. So I want to stress that Xinjiang-related issues are purely Chinese internal affairs and brought no foreign interference under any pretext and in any way. We call it one of the biggest lies of the century because it is not based on the truth, but liars and fabrications. Simply, the reason behind the boycott call, just like some your parliament members accused China of the genocide in Xinjiang. So I have to say once again here to our public media friends here, as I told several times, many times to my counterparts in your foreign ministry, we don't have that kind of crimes. We didn't commit any wrong with the Uyghur in Xinjiang. We take some actions since the few years back that, the terrorism, extremism, and religion extremism is really serious. They have, they have done a lot of bombings, killings in Xinjiang since 2016. Thousands of events, and hundreds of people were killed. So you can find the video even on the website, online. So it's not a human rights issue. It's China takes some actions against the extremism and terrorism. So that's why we hope your government will have a fair judgment. Don't follow what other people say. We welcome people like the media present today and also some other media from other countries to visit Xinjiang. You can see with your own eyes. So we have thousands of journalists and government officials visited Xinjiang, and they didn't find anything like genocide at all. So it's really why we call it a lie of century. And also we like you to know that Xinjiang was the topic brought up by the United States. China, with its in the process of development, we have so many things been criticized by some superpowers like Taiwan, Hong Kong, Xinjiang, you can name it, human rights issue. So I just simply ask you one question. In China, we have 56 minorities, right? And Xinjiang is one of the 56. Why simply the United States just single out Xinjiang, Uyghur, Muslims? Why they care about Xinjiang? So have you reflect on that? Why? Do you really believe that the United States really care about the Muslims' life in Xinjiang? They even don't care about the black people in their own country. How you could imagine they could care about the Muslim life in Xinjiang? So here I would like to take a few minutes to play two short videos about how United States view Xinjiang as a tool against China. So the first recording, that's from the former U.S. Colonel, also Chief of Staff of the State Secretary, former State Secretary William Powell. And that's Mr. Lawrence Wilkerson. So I said he's used to be a military colonel and chief of staff of state secretary. So a very powerful gentleman. He made his speech at Ron Paul Institute in August 2018.
It has nothing to do with Kabul and state building, nothing to do with fighting the Taliban or proving that we can reconcile with the Taliban, and nothing to do with fighting any terrorists. It has everything to do with three primary strategic objectives. And I really, as a military officer, professional, I don't necessarily object to these objectives, but I believe the American people don't want to be told about them in philosophy of the state as to whether or not they want to spend their money on these objectives. First objective is to be in the place that Donald Rumsfeld discovered was the most difficult country in the world to get military power into in 2001. And take my word for it, it is. Look at it and leave it there, because it is the only hard power the United States has that sits proximate to the Central Base Road Initiative in China that runs across Central Asia. If we had to impact that with military power, we were in a position to do so. The second reason we're there is because we're cheating Jal with the potentially most unstable nuclear stockpile on the face of the earth in Pakistan. We want to be able to leave on that stockpile and stabilize it if necessary. And the third reason we're there is because there are 20 million Uyghurs, and if the CIA has to mount an operation using those Uyghurs, as Erdogan has done in Turkey against Assad, there are 20,000 of them in Idlib in Syria right now. Well, the CIA would want to destabilize China, and that would be the best way to do it. Foment unrest and to join with those Uyghurs in pushing the Han Chinese and Beijing from internal places rather than external.
So it's clear. Their objective to use Uyghur, Xinjiang, target China. So that's clear for sure. So another one I'd like to play, that's from a lady, former FBI agent. And she was interviewed by American TV. So let's listen what she said about
That is the objective. We want another Taiwan. I used to talk about this a lot, and people would say, why? I mean, she's talking about Xinjiang. Who cares what's happening in a place called Xinjiang? We don't even know how to spell it. Well, as you see, it's been happening. It's extremely important. And again, it pops up. Unfortunately, 99% of people, even though New York Times, with its own tilt, covered it, they would read it, and with the names not making sense, saying, okay, maybe some immigration issues where you have illegal immigrants being smuggled out of this country, but it's not. It's never been the case. A lot of these people are taken out by the operatives, Gladio operatives, in this case, most of the times by the Turks, and they are taken out, they are trained, and they are armed, and then they are sent back. Where lo and behold, some terror events takes place and people have no idea. How did they get the guns, you know? How were they trained militaristically? Because Xinjiang is under China's control. Well, they are trained outside. So that is the goal, and that is the operation. So the Chinese government's version of the story is much closer than when the New York Times takes the version of the Turkish side, saying you're going to see similar elements that we have been seeing, let's say, with Ukraine. Okay, Xinjiang is going to be the next Taiwan. Okay, and you look at the map, you see the importance of Xinjiang. That is the artery, the entry artery of energy, whether it's coming from Kazakhstan or Turkmenistan into China, whether it's natural gas or this oil, it has to pass. So that's why it's very important. That's why we're going to see more. And then it's going to come to the point where we're going to have someone similar to Richard Gere start giving speeches during Oscar acceptance and talk about how these, you know, like they do it with the monks there in Tibet. It would be how these people are being, you know, abused and for that part of the world to play the minority without land. We're going to help them. They're being oppressed. The Chinese are gunning them down and torturing them. So let's take out this. We put military base there. And we also have the sympathy of the world. But as a Western nations, United States flag, we never cared about people suffering. That's not within our interest area unless it can be utilized, capitalized upon to get our objective meaning. And make sure that China, energy-wise, is not going to have an easy time. It's definitely going to come. The question is not whether it's going to come. The question is when. And you see that gradually they are paving the way. So it's going to happen whether it's 5 years down the road or 2 years down the road. And these things heating up. And of course, Chinese are playing it very, very smart. Very smart. They are just, they're incredible. They're incredible. When I keep looking at how they respond to things, how they handle it, how they are so logical in terms of business interests, how much we want to contain, how much we want to. I mean, have we ever heard China really loudly saying the United States is doing this? They know. They have a very, very good counterintelligence, but look at their business domain and look at the relationship as business. So they are handling it very smartly, and it will be hard for the Western powers to try to throw the bait and say, okay, Biden, okay. So even though they are doing the counter, they are doing it in a very kind of self-controlled, restrained manners because they know what the game is about. They know about the chessboard, and they are not about to fight. And they have been playing it very smart.
Okay, so that's the two short video. You could understand why Xinjiang became a problem between China and the United States, and so hopefully your people could understand that. Don't make a wrong judgment. So I have answered all your questions today. So.
For the very last question, I want to announce that those of lawmakers from Lithuania, from Estonia, from Latvia will visit Taiwan next week, and the visit will include meetings with the president of Taiwan. Do you have a comment on that?
We read that in the press, some parliament members from the Baltic countries will visit Taiwan in sometime December. So we always say that that's not correct. It's action that abridgment of the one China policy. Even for parliament members, they are important political figures of the country. By visiting Taiwan, you're just sending a wrong message to Taiwan. So you can never say it's a non-official visit, or they could just boast it. It's really is an official visit for them. So we just hope your relative, the parliamentary members concerned, refrain from taking this move or take these actions, this joint visit to Taiwan. So we oppose that and hope they refrain from doing that. Thank you. Okay, I think it now comes to the end. So many thanks for your coming again. Have a good day. Yeah.